All right, so I want you to take a second and imagine that you could take your favorite author's writing style, their prose, their word choice, and their grammatical structure, and you could blend that with your own, and you could smash all of your favorite authors' styles into one and meld it with your own to create one really, really unique, awesome writing style that you think is the best of all time because it's a blend of all your favorite things. And that sounds imaginative and crazy and incredible, right? So what if I told you that is actually a real thing that we can do, and that is something that some of the best authors of all time have done in the past and are currently doing to get ahead of the game and keep writing and keep building not just stories, but also their own word structure, word choice, their service lexicons, all that fun stuff, intentionally to become the best writers they can and come across work to work and project to project with the message and style that they want to. And this is a real thing. Benjamin Franklin did it to become one of the best writers of his time, and he's one of the American fathers technically. So that's my intention in this video, is to quickly and succinctly and helpfully and hopefully chill vibes, is to convey how to do this, and how to take all of those favorite authors of yours and take their styles and kind of smash it together into your own nice, very articulate, or maybe you want to be very blunt, writing style. So let's get into it. All right, so first, all you've got to do is you've got to determine what are your favorite authors. This is something that, you've got to be a little bit more selective about, because if you're going to do these exercises, this is my videos, I strive to be very applicable. These are actionable tips and advice and methods that you can hopefully use on a day-to-day basis, from video to video, from project to project. And so what are those authors that you really want to take the writing styles of and build into your own magnum opus writing style? And you got to be a little bit more selective about this, because the styles you're taking are going to shape what writing style you end up creating. And that can be very important, because it can also be detrimental to you if you're not choosing wisely, if you're not reading widely. It can really be negative, because you're taking in all these writing styles that maybe you don't read that much, and maybe you're like, oh, this is some wonderful writing styles, and really it's not. So you got to read widely, hopefully, for this. But for me, I would be taking and you got to determine also why you want this author and their style and prose. So for me, I would take Orson Scott Card for his vague poeticism. He's kind of very interesting in the way that he's able to both show and tell at the same time, and he has that really, really nice internal dialogue with the characters. So I want him for his way of tying everything together and referencing it with the character's emotions. So I want that and his word choice and the way he does that. So I'll take Orson Scott Card. Next, I want Brandon Sanderson and Neil Shusterman. Brandon Sanderson, author of The Stormlight Archive and Mistborn, and then I want Neil Shusterman here at Scythe. Both of them because they are able to tell larger stories while still feeling very personal, and not being like, this is 7 days. No, this is, although the latest one was 10 days, while still telling these expansive stories in a shorter amount of time, technically, and that is through actually breaking the rule of show don't tell. And Neil Shusterman does this really beautifully, where he takes events and he really summarizes them like in a paragraph, and you're like, oh, why would we do 3 chapters of eating food and stuff, when you could just be like, that sandwich was delicious, and now I'm going to go and, if you don't know the premise of Scythe, it's basically I'm going to go and assassinate this person because the population needs to be limited. And it's kind of the same reason with Sanderson, because that expansive style, and it's kind of crystal clear pain into the world of the story where you're telling a lot of the time. So I want that part of it. And then I also want Patrick Rothfuss for his choice of words, his service lexicon, and then also the way that he blends those together. So if I could have all of those put together, that would be my optimal writing style. Also, I would like, depending on the project, if I was writing a more whimsical story, for me, I would choose Andrew Peterson. He's typically not too whimsy, but he does have some whimsy elements, and he does that really carefully. So I'll throw him in with my normal, actually. But if I wanted more whimsy, I would do Douglas Adams and have him as part of my thing. And I think that would be my optimal writing style. And that is actually kind of what I've been doing. I've been taking those authors and using the method that I'm going to teach you to do that. So sorry for the rant on what I would like. Let's actually teach you how to do this. All right, so At this point, I hope you have that at least on your desk or at least, sorry, in your mind, of those authors and styles and why you want those in your new writing style. And so let's go ahead and I will teach you how to do this. So I'm kind of filming this impromptu, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry I'm using systems audio. It's been forever since I posted a video, and I need to post a video, and this is a video that I think is really valuable, and I don't want to wait too long to get it out to you. The way that this method was formulated, this is called the Benjamin Franklin method. If you go back and watch the first video on this channel, which is has a really cool thumbnail, I think it's pretty cool. It was about this topic, and I never told you kind of what the topic was. I read the Benjamin Franklin quotes on the Benjamin Franklin method. It was never really clear what I was talking about, so this is a video to rectify that mistake, teach you how to do it, and hopefully make a more quality video. So, how do you do this? So what you do is Benjamin Franklin, he would take the writers that he admired. He wasn't he built himself into this with his method, into the best writer of his time, basically. So what he did is he would take those authors and he would take a page. I think he was very, very what is the word? Ambitious with his, and he would do a page and a lot. And so what I do is I just choose my favorite paragraphs and I do that. So what you do is you take it, and I like to actually write out exactly what it is. So you take, this is my notepad for like kind of the script. I've gone through the entire script by now. You'd go through and you'd write down every single thing, every word, exactly how it's written by the original author. And then after that, what you do is I recommend reading that a couple times, getting the feel for the flow of it. And noting mentally kind of what that style is looking like. And I know that sounds kind of complicated and you're like, oh, this is boring, I want to click off. I encourage you, this is something that will seriously change your writing style. So what you do next is you actually go through that, and I recommend giving you 5 words per paragraph. Do not form full sentences, 5 words per sentence, sorry. Take each sentence and try to summarize it as best you can, with only up to 5 words. I recommend as little words as possible. And then what you do once you've summarized the entire thing with as little words as possible, as basically as possible, is you sit on it for a second, or you can go right into it. I like to go right into it because I'm not as good as Benjamin Franklin. I hope I'm not. And what I do is you go ahead and you write it out off that outline. Don't look at the original thing anymore. You put that off to the side. You look at these summaries that you've done, and you go ahead, you go to a separate piece of paper, hopefully, and then you write out an attempt at rewriting exactly as the original author wrote that from the summary. And then after that, you compare that to the original, and you find your mistakes. And I recommend separating, if you're going to do these all in a sitting, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do Orson Scott Card, I'm going to do Brandon Sanderson then, and then after that, I'm going to hop over to, Neil Shusterman. Let's do that. We're hopping between. I recommend switching between them after each attempt, so your mind's got a moment to refresh, kind of. And so you repeat this process until you've got it in the same wording. And you'd be surprised how quickly this will actually take effect for your writing, because it will actually, you'll be very surprised, because once you, and I recommend that you read more of their books while you're doing this too, and project for project. I'll do a video soon on like selective media consumption, but this is kind of part of it where whatever you're intaking, you've got to be kind of selective, because whatever you're creating, your intake is basically the cognition, the mental state, the messaging subconsciously from the person who's creating the media you're consuming, and that is kind of going to very, very heavily affect what you're putting out. So this is taking that and turning the volume up, way up, and doing it intentionally, so that you're not just, TikTok Reels. That is what I want to do as for my big, massive fantasy novel. It's going to be TikTok Reels. I don't know how that would work, but it would influence you somehow. And so I do recommend you actually read their stuff while doing this, but you will see your writing change. I hope you let me know if you've actually implemented this after watching it, because that's the thing with writing advice and productivity videos. We tend to go ahead and watch them, and then afterwards we're like, oh, that was wonderful, I really want to try that sometime. Shadows are going to be terrible with the lighting. The sun just went down my window. We tend to not actually implement it, and I encourage you, just take 5 minutes and start, or 15 minutes and try to do an entire thing. And I encourage you, I think it will actually affect you. So All right, I'll see you in the next video. Blessings.